Also, in Durban, I think I was talking about Samsung. Okay, I was talking about Samsung. Okay, no, let's go to Durban and then go back to this Samsung issue. So in Durban, last week or the other week, I think it's last week, they were. Today is Sunday, so it won't be last week. It would be the other week, right? So what has happened in Durban is there were floods, right? There was heavy rains, roads were flooded, people were displaced from their shelters or homes, roads were damaged, even railway lines. There were railway lines which were hanging. Is it hanging? When all the soil underneath the railway lines disappears, all the soil is taken away, then those railway lines were just standing on nothing. Wait, is it correct to say they were standing on like they were hanging just like that? Alright, so it was huge floods. Usually Durban has a lot of rains around these times. Usually I'm not there, I'm here in Western Cape, and also when I was staying in KZN, which was the rest of my life before the past 3 years, usually I'd be at home when there were heavy rains in Durban. If I'm at home is a rural area, so we don't get a lot of floods there. I don't think I remember us having floods there. Alright, so it's been difficult. Okay, so there's few issues with regards to the floods in Durban. One, the coast or the harbor. I think was the Durban harbor. What was this place? I'm not sure if it's called Manzimtoti. It's called Manzimtoti. Durban harbor. What is it called? Durban harbor. But there is this Shaka Marine Mbilo Investors. There is this Zulu word most. Oh, it's called Mtandeni. They're not showing it here. It's called Mtandeni. I think that's the harbor. The main one. I think that's the only one that we have in Durban. Not sure. Or maybe there's one in Richards Bay or something like that. So what happened is, when the floods came in, they came in with all the garbage that's in the township of Durban, the townships of Durban as a city. All the garbage, the plastics and whatever, they were flooded into the harbor, right? And there was the normal beaches. Damn, that doesn't sound well. The normal beach in KZN, right? Not in KZN, in Durban, right? So those were flooded with a lot of waste, and there was a pile, all right, with the in the harbors. If you've seen the pictures, there was a pile of waste being there, and this led me to think of something. I'm not sure who was I listening to, if it's the Jordan Peterson debate or whatever, but I heard somewhere that the more that people are elevated, or the more that people are earning, or the comfortable people are with their earning, or satisfied with their life in some sort of way, right? Let's say you have a home, you have a stable job. I think those are two most important things. It's where the people will start thinking about saving the environment, right? I think it's in the hierarchy of problems. This thing, man, it's itchy, right? So last week I placed the mic here, and that didn't work out well. I was not not to say loud, so my laptop is making noise, but I'm not gonna move it from here. So I was pressing the thing here and I wasn't very loud or clear with my voice, so I put it back in here and now it's itchy, which is annoying, right? So it's with the hierarchy of problems, right? As I said last week, after eating, if hunger has been solved as a problem, then you can move on to other problems, right? So if you're telling me about although it's my responsibility, right, to make sure that I clean the environment, I don't litter, I don't whatever, but if you're telling me or a person in the road about that as a problem, right, can you see how many other problems that person has, and in the hierarchy of problems, how insignificant that problem is to that person, right? We've had floods in Durban. People have lost their homes. Who, when they've lost their home, is going to think about how we've how we've dirtied the ocean? Who's gonna think about the environment when they don't have their home or a home to sleep in? Who's gonna think about that when they have to worry about the food, what they eat on that day? And the most important thing that you might not know about black people in KZN, or usually in KZN, I've lived in rural and I've lived in township, and this is a generalization. Obviously it's wrong to do that, but I've lived with different types of people in KZN, and I'm a Zulu guy, so most of the time when I'm sitting with people, I like to observe a lot for no reason or whatsoever. So what you might not know, where was I going? Oh, what you might not know with people like from KZN and whatever is with insurance. Most people don't have insurance, all right? The home insurance, car insurance, most people don't have that thing, right? So if they lose their house, they've essentially lost everything, sort of, unless the government builds them in, which is unlikely also. Okay, let's stop the video here. Okay, back. So unless the government helps in some sort of way, obviously the government will help maybe with the food packaging and whatever, and hopefully if those people own the area at which they had their house, hopefully they can start rebuilding. And man, some people lost the whole house. If you're losing the whole house, it means the house and the furniture are gone, and this means that even the area at which the house was situated or located is no longer good for. Okay, there is a lot of work to be done in order to make it suitable for building a house or a home, right? And if you don't have insurance, you're sort of screwed in a lot of different ways. Yeah, it's sad, man. Even when there's my mom stays there, obviously I think most of my family, but how many people are at home? Most of my family stays in Durban, if not all of them. Only my grandma and my siblings are in Durban. Some of them are back at home, and cousins, as we call it, back at home. So luckily my mom stays she stays in not in a shed, it's a government RDP house, right? But she doesn't own the thing, so she rents from someone. Luckily those are built, they have integrity in the way they're built, so it's not easy to just demolish them, right? or take them down, to say. It's not a very easy thing. So but the rain obviously got in the room. She said that the bedding. So what happened is, so when you have your bed being at the wall, right, being close to the wall or being leaned into the wall, what happened is with the roof is what they call zinc. They call it zinc tile, zinc, whatever. So the thing just gets in, the water just gets in and rolls down the wall, and the bedding was ruined. Is ruined the correct word. The bedding was wet. Was wet. Man, I swear there was a word wetted. Isn't there a word like that? The bedding was wetted. No, that doesn't sound good. Okay, it was wet. Man. Okay, so the thing was wet, but they didn't have any major problems with regards to the floods. My older mom, so it's my mom's sister, the oldest of them as siblings and whatever, she's renting in this, I think it's flat, as we'd call it, but the normal township flats, those houses you find in a township. And what happened there is that I don't think the person was inside, but with the rain and whatever, the whole thing just collapsed. Not the whole thing, right? So, man, how am I going to explain this? Man, this is a podcast, damn. So I've been making hand gestures and whatever, forgetting that this is a podcast, right? So think of a normal, let's say, three-floored building, right? It's a three-floored. Let's say with 3 floors, right? That sounds good, right? So think of the end part of that building, right? The wall, not the long wall, but the wall that's at, how would we explain this with words and not using any hand gestures? Man, this is difficult. Nobody told me this. Okay, so think of it think of it as a rectangle, right? So you know that the rectangle has 2 equal sides, the long ones, and then 2 equal sides, the short ones, right? Think of a building like that. That's a rectangle, and then the short side just goes down, right? The whole of the one short side just goes down, and then the rooms next to the short sides also go down with the whole furniture and whatever that's there. That's what happened in that building. The thing the whole wall just went down. Other than that, I didn't hear any problems. Okay, so it's, what is with my family, right? They are scattered around Durban. So if ever one of them were to lose their home or their house or room to floods, obviously it's easy for them to go to the other person because they are scattered around the whatever. Obviously nothing happened, and we're thankful for that. But some other people lost their homes, and some other people, I found it, it's strange, right? If you go to Durban or whatever, it's strange to me that there are people who only stay in Durban, but there are few, right? It's strange even as an idea that you're born in Durban, your whole family is in Durban, and you're a Zulu guy. You don't have any family back at home. Man, that's strange, because most, right? With us, like with me, if I think of if my life were to knock me down, if life were to have it at me, if life were to just if I were to experience the worst out of life, I'd still have home to go back to. I have both my maternal side, I think it's called maternal side, and my paternal side, right? So I have places to retreat to. I can go back and stay at home and nobody would ask me a question. There's always home, right? There's always a place where you know that you can't if life knocks you down, you still have that place, right? There's that security, that knowing that there is home, right? And I think as I grow up, as whatever, I don't think I'd abandon the tradition of having a rural home and then an urban home in Durban or wherever you want to build, but having a rural home. I think it's true for most people in South Africa. At least black people have a stable home. And although our buildings back at home are not sophisticated, but they're mostly able to handle floods. Right? Unlike that would have the whole home destroyed because of a flood. There is always that one room that you know that floods can't do anything about. Right? That's how we build. It's strong most of the time. And some other thing I've had trouble understanding is staying in a shack. Right? So I stayed in a shack once or twice. So I was visiting my older mom or whatever, and she was renting 2 rooms. She was renting that shack and her room, so we wouldn't be sharing a room with her, obviously. So we were using that shack. And staying in a shack, man, you don't think about it when you're staying there, right? You don't even, it doesn't stick to your head, sort of. You just stay there. But if you're staying in a shack and there's floods, man, almost all your things are gonna be wiped out, or they're gonna be wet in some way. And with shacks, it's just better with that shack because it's just only one shack and there are no shacks around it. Just one shack next to like well-built rooms and whatever. So brick rooms. So if you're staying in a shack and then there's floods and it's all shacks, most of them will be wiped out, because if one shack goes down, it's most likely that it will go down and touch the next one. The next one goes down, touch the next one, go down. The whole thing just goes down. It's like, it's called a domino effect or something like that. So for people who stay in shacks, man, I think they've been striking for government to do something, because man, that life of having to lose everything, yeah, it's very difficult. And floods is not something that we used to, or at least not at that level where homes are destroyed and there have been people who've lost their lives. I think it's 50 people or something like that. I think it's 51 or more people who've lost their lives due to the floods. Yeah, man, it's very sad. And I don't think South Africa has enough resources to take care of these problems. I might be wrong, but I don't think we have enough resources to take care of natural disasters and whatever. Right now, everyone is fighting to get nominated and whatever. Okay, I'm gonna go pee now. Right? Yeah, let me go out.